Margaret had always been known for her skillful hands. For 40 years as a seamstress, her fingers danced across the machine with the precision of a maestro conducting an orchestra. Tiny buttons, delicate zippers, minuscule pins. Nothing escaped the dexterity of her steady, confident hands. One ordinary day, seated at the kitchen table, Margaret held her cup of coffee. Her hands trembled slightly until a drop of coffee slipped over the rim, staining her blouse. "It must just be fatigue," she murmured to herself, dabbing at the spot with a napkin. But deep in her heart, she realized it shouldn't have happened. At 68, she was beginning to face a reality that millions of people over 60 know well. The hands that had once been her most reliable tools now seemed to have a life of their own. Like an old car that starts showing small engine problems, her hands were sending signals that they needed special attention. Over the following days, Margaret noticed other signs. When she tried to thread a needle, a task she used to do with her eyes closed, she needed several attempts. The television remote slipped from her hands more often. Even holding the phone during long conversations with her daughter had become a challenge. "My hands aren't obeying the way they used to," Margaret said to her husband Harold over dinner. He, a retired mechanic, replied matter-of-factly, "Sweetheart, when my car started sputtering, I didn't leave it in the garage. I took it to the mechanic and found out what was going on." Harold was right. It was time to see Dr. Peterson, their family doctor for more than 2 decades. In the office, Margaret sat in the familiar chair, staring at her hands in her lap. They looked normal, some veins more visible, a few age spots, but they were still her hands. "Margaret, tell me what's going on," Dr. Peterson said. Margaret described the episodes of the past few days: the spilled coffee, the difficulty with small objects, the sense that her hands no longer obeyed as they once did. The doctor jotted down a few notes. "What you're describing is very common after 60, Dr. Peterson explained. Think of your hands as the electrical wiring in a house. Over time, some connections grow less efficient, which simply means a few adjustments are needed. These symptoms don't mean the condition will necessarily worsen, but it's important to understand the causes behind these episodes. Just as an experienced gardener knows that different seasons call for different care of the plants, our bodies after 60 require a renewed approach to maintain hand strength and coordination. There are many possible causes for symptoms like yours. It might be something straightforward, such as early arthritis. Picture the joints as door hinges that need a bit more oil to swing smoothly. Or it could be a minor neurological issue, as though a few wires in the electrical system need maintenance. What you may not realize is that there are numerous strategies to reverse or control these sensations. The hands that have been your most loyal companions, driving, sewing dreams, preparing meals, caressing grandchildren, building a life after 60, simply need a few adjustments to keep doing all that. Your journey to regain steady hands begins now and will lead you to discover not only surprisingly effective techniques but also a new understanding of how our bodies can adapt and thrive, even decades after we thought we had learned everything about them. In the United States, more than 54 million people live with some degree of hand tremor or stiffness after age 60. It's such a common condition that many simply chalk it up to part of getting older, an acceptance that can be premature and unnecessary. The truth is that what we casually label shaky hands actually encompasses several distinct conditions. Arthritis strikes about 32% of Americans over 65, causing stiffness and pain in the finger joints. Essential tremor affects roughly 10 million people nationwide, making hands shake during voluntary movements. Peripheral neuropathy, common among those with diabetes, damages the peripheral nerves. Imagine those nerves as electrical wires carrying messages from the brain to the muscles of the hands. In peripheral neuropathy, those wires become damaged or malfunction, disrupting communication between brain and hands and resulting in loss of sensation, reduced strength, and impaired coordination. But here's the crucial point. These conditions are not life sentences. Recent research shows that the human brain retains its plasticity, the ability to form new connections, well into very old age. That means even at 70, 80, or 90, it is possible to train new neural pathways to compensate for difficulties throughout the body, especially in the hands. A Harvard University study followed 1,200 people aged 65 to 85 who had manual coordination problems. After 6 weeks of targeted exercises, 78% showed significant improvement in their ability to grasp small objects. Even more impressive, 45% regained skills they had completely lost. The secret lies in a systematic approach. Just as a mechanic doesn't repair an engine by looking at only one part, Treating hand tremors requires attention to multiple factors that we will discuss next. The strength factor. Grip strength, the ability to squeeze and hold objects, naturally declines with age, but it can be restored. Simple resistance exercises, performed consistently, can increase hand strength by up to 40% in adults over 65. The coordination factor. Fine motor coordination, the ability to perform precise movements, also responds to training. Activities that challenge finger precision, such as sorting tiny objects or executing specific motions, literally retrain the brain to better control the hands. The flexibility factor. Stiff joints limit movement, but rigidity can be reduced. Targeted stretches and applied heat increase the range of motion in the finger joints. The confidence factor. Perhaps the most important of all. Many people develop a fear of using their hands normally after episodes of tremor or dropping objects. That fear creates a vicious cycle. The less we use our hands, the weaker they become. The good news is that simple strategies can break this cycle, because shaky hands is not a single diagnosis, but a symptom that can have multiple causes and multiple solutions. From straightforward exercises to environmental modifications, from nutritional supplementation to relaxation techniques, there is an arsenal of proven strategies. Before we move on to the techniques, tell us in the comments. At what times of day do you feel the most stiffness in your hands? Is it upon waking? During specific tasks like writing or cooking? Or perhaps when holding small objects? You'll soon learn how to restore your hands' independence using only items you already have at home. No expensive equipment or complex procedures required. But how can you know which technique works best for each situation? Recovering steady hands requires specific strategies you can start today. The warm water technique. Before any exercise, soak your hands in warm water for 5 minutes. The temperature should feel like a comfortable bath. Heat relaxes the joints and improves circulation, like warming up a car engine before you drive. Exercise 1. Firm fist. Close your hand into a fist and squeeze for 5 seconds. Open your fingers fully for another 5 seconds. Repeat as many times as you like whenever you remember. This simple exercise strengthens the muscles that open and close your hands. Exercise 2. Invisible piano. Rest your hands on the table and lift one finger at a time, keeping the others down. Start with your thumb and end with your pinky. Move slowly and with control. This practice improves the individual coordination of each finger. Exercise 3. Object separation. Mix 20 beans with 20 corn kernels in a bowl. Separate them using only your fingers. This trains the fine motor coordination essential for grasping small objects. Anti-tremor breathing. When your hands tremble, inhale, hold your breath for a few seconds, and then exhale slowly. Repeat as often as you wish. This exercise has been proven to calm the nervous system and reduce tension-related tremors. By practicing these techniques, track your progress and watch for signs such as fewer dropped objects, jars easier to open, reduced morning stiffness, greater confidence in daily tasks. Additionally, if you feel you need it, jot down a few vitamins that can directly enhance overall muscle strength. Magnesium, 200 to 400 milliliters daily. Vitamin B12, especially important for anyone who takes antacids. Vitamin D. Remember, always consult your physician before beginning any supplement. Tremors require close attention, and in the next few minutes you'll learn when to seek help in extraordinary situations. Seek medical guidance if tremors worsen within 4 weeks. If you experience intense pain during exercises, loss of sensation, or interference with sleep. These techniques are tools of independence. Every movement you practice today is an investment in tomorrow's quality of life. Your hands can continue to be your greatest allies. What you may not realize is that there is another type of tremor, and before considering a solution, it's crucial to identify which kind you're facing. Yet there is a revolutionary approach that combines all these techniques in a remarkable way. A strategy that has restored complete confidence to thousands of people dealing with both conditions. The most effective way to regain steadiness in your hands is not to use a single technique in isolation, but to combine every strategy in an integrated system. This method has revolutionized the lives of thousands of people, including those facing different kinds of tremor. In addition to the tremors we have already discussed, there is another type that is very common among people over 60. Postural tremor. Unlike essential tremor, which occurs during movement, a postural tremor appears when you try to hold a fixed position, such as keeping a cup suspended in midair or your hand extended. It is as if your muscles get nervous when asked to stay still, creating small involuntary oscillations. Postural tremor is often linked to the use of certain medications, especially blood pressure drugs, antidepressants, or medicines for stomach problems. The good news is that this type of tremor responds extremely well to the integrated method we are about to present, particularly when we combine strengthening exercises with stabilization techniques. The integrated protocol works by dividing your daily routine into 3 sessions of just 5 minutes each. In the morning, you start by warming your hands in hot water for 2 minutes. This initial heat is like preparing dough before baking bread, making everything more flexible and ready for work. Next, spend 1 minute on the firm fist exercise and 2 minutes on the invisible piano. This morning sequence wakes up the hand muscles and sets a controlled movement pattern that will last all day. The afternoon session focuses on fine coordination and emotional control. 3 minutes of separating small objects train movement precision, while 2 minutes of anti-tremor breathing help regulate any anxiety that may be amplifying the tremors. It is in the afternoon that many people notice the peak of their symptoms, so this session acts as a reset in the middle of the day. The evening session is gentler and more relaxing. Start with 2 minutes of warm water again, followed by 3 minutes of free movement. Simply wiggle your fingers any way you like, with no rules or specific goals. This freedom of motion helps release any tension built up during the day and prepares your hands for nighttime rest. The mental aspect is just as important as the physical one. Before each exercise, take a few seconds to visualize your hands performing precise, steady movements. The human brain is remarkably efficient at forming neural connections through visualization. That's why professional athletes rely on this technique. When you imagine your fingers moving with perfect coordination, you are literally training your nervous system to reproduce those movements in reality. Quality of movement always trumps quantity. It is better to complete 5 perfect repetitions, paying mindful attention to every muscle involved, than 20 careless ones. Each conscious movement is like a conversation between your brain and your hands, strengthening the communication between them. People in different age ranges can adjust the program to their specific needs. Those between 60 and 69 often have more energy and can focus on prevention by maintaining 3 daily sessions. Between 70 and 79, the emphasis should be on strength and coordination, with 2 more intense sessions. Above 80, 1 full session per day is sufficient, always prioritizing safety and comfort. Technology can be a valuable ally in this process. Set unobtrusive reminders on your phone for exercise times. Daily consistency is far more important than occasional intense sessions. It's like watering a plant a little every day rather than drenching it once a week. Results follow a predictable pattern. In the first week, it's normal to feel a slight increase in hand fatigue. This shows your muscles are being challenged in new ways. In the second week, you'll begin to notice fewer objects slipping from your grasp. The third week brings noticeable improvements in coordination and, more importantly, in confidence. By the 4th week, strength is markedly higher and tremors are reduced. By the 6th week, movements that once felt challenging will feel natural again. The emotional aspect cannot be ignored. Many people develop shame or anxiety related to their tremors, which ironically can make them worse. Remember that these changes in your hands do not define who you are. Your hands carry decades of experience, love, and stories. They deserve patience and care throughout this recovery process. Once steadiness is regained, maintenance is essential. A 5-minute daily session should become as automatic as brushing your teeth. This minimal investment preserves all the gains you've achieved and prevents backsliding. The true secret of the integrated method lies not only in the physical exercises, but in a complete shift of perspective. When you stop seeing your hands as problematic and start viewing them as capable of adaptation and improvement, that mental change dramatically accelerates the physical results. It's as though you're giving your body permission to heal. Clinical studies show that 85% of people who follow this protocol for 6 weeks report significant improvement. Your recovery journey begins the moment you decide to act. You have all the necessary tools. The knowledge is literally in your hands. Start today, be patient with yourself, and remember that every conscious movement is a step toward renewed independence. Your hands have already proven their capability over decades of life. Now, with the right strategies, they are ready to prove once again what they can do. If you've made it to the end of this video, comment which of these strategies you plan to use, and don't forget to share this with a family member, friend, or neighbor who has been experiencing similar tremors. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive weekly videos and practical tips for a better quality of life after 60.